Hi, I'm Mercedes Fobb at the Captured on Canvas studio, here to instruct you on our DIY candle kit step by step. Most importantly, I'm going to show you everything you would have had in your kit and some things that will be handy to have next to you while making it. I always encourage everybody to read fully through the instructions before creating the candle so you're not with hot wax, cooling, and following the steps as you go. And also, if any kids are making these candles, we always encourage to have adult supervision as the wax can be hot and that wouldn't be good. So most importantly, you will have your handwritten instructions in your kit. So these are also good to follow along with and everything else in front of us. Most importantly, you got to pick out your candle container, your candle die, if you wish. Otherwise, you can always not do that and it would just be white. We have our fragrance. I am deciding to do the ocean sands. And next we have our supply cup. So this is our microwave cup that we'll be using, but inside of it, we have our bag of wax. We have a straw used for centering the wick later. We have a mixing spoon. We have a popsicle stick with a hole in it. This is going to be for our centering of the wick later. And last but not least, in there we should have a glue dot as well as a warning label to place on the bottom. We would also have chosen our wick. We do have a wood wick. These will tend to burn the candle a little faster, but it's such a pretty flame. And then we also have our standard cotton wicks. Some other things that you will be needing are a microwave to cook up your wax. We will need a thermometer so we know exactly when to place in that fragrance and the dye. And one other thing that I always like to possibly have if you are going to be doing dye is to have a scrap paper around. This is just going to be helpful if you want like a lighter color. This is good for sampling the wax before you finalize it into your container. Alrighty, so to get started, the most important is going to be putting the wick in the bottom inside of our candle container. So what we're going to be using is our glue dot, so keep that right next to you, and I'm deciding to do the wood wick. Now I'm going to show you how to do exactly both. If you're doing a regular wick, you're going to want to insert that into the straw to start. If you're doing a wood wick, you don't need to worry about that because it's already stiff enough as it is. This is just supposed to help you get in the bottom of the container and helping center it. But with your glue dot, you're just going to go ahead and place it on the bottom of whichever type of wick you're going to do. You're just going to remove the back. And like I said, I'm doing the wood wick, so I'm going to place it right in the center of that on the bottom. Press down good. Okay, and if you're doing the regular wick, you're also going to do that same thing. Now, if you have a glass container, it does make it really easy because what you can do is look at the bottom of the glass, and then I'm going to take that wick in through and spotting exactly where center is. So if you're doing the regular wick, you'll stick it down good, then you'll remove that straw, and then you'll take your fingers the best you can to press around that base of that wick. If you're doing the wood wick, it's going to be basically the same thing. Obviously, before you stick it, you want to make sure you peel off that backside there too. So with this, you're going to hold it. I'm still going to look through the bottom. Now, if you're not doing a glass one, you can always just look through the top, but just do your very best to get it centered. Whoops. And be careful because it will stick immediately. So make sure that you are approaching it slowly. Okay, I'm going to make sure I center it there. Take my fingers, press down on that wick, getting it right in place. Then we're going to take that warning label and put that right on the bottom as well. Okay. All right, then it's going to look store-bought too. How cool is that? Alrighty, so far now we have placed our wick and we got that warning label on. Now we had to cook up our wax. So with this wax bag, I'm just going to go ahead and open it. There is a little resealable sticky side here for easy opening. Careful, it is very full, so make sure you have it upright. And you will carefully pour this wax into your cup, because it will fill almost to the top. Alrighty, make sure I get all of that little bit of wax. Oh my goodness. See, I even spilled it. Okay, gonna level it off there. Alrighty, so now I have my wax in my cup. Now we start the heating process. So with the cup, we only do it in small intervals here. The first one is going to be for 60 seconds. And when placing it in the microwave, we'll make sure to put it right on the edge of the plate. Now I'll do it over on the side so you can see. So I have it right on the edge of the turntable. Then closing it, we're going to do our first interval here for 60 seconds or 1 minute. And we'll just sit here and wait. We do have to do this a few different times, and each time we're going to be sure to rotate that cup. It's just going to help evenly heat up that wax. We want to make sure not to overheat the wax because that wouldn't be good, and we also don't want to underheat it a little bit longer. If you do overheat your wax, I wouldn't worry about it because we can just leave that thermometer in there and wait till it cools until you can add your dye and then your fragrance. And basically, I can kind of look at the wax and decide when it's done too, just by basing it off of the color. If it has a low, that means it needs more microwaving. Low, that means that it's heated enough or too much. So that's how I kind of judge too on if I need to heat some more. Alrighty, so there's our first one. I'm gonna go ahead and rotate my cup 90 degrees, okay? And we're gonna do our second time at this, but now for 30 seconds. Lucky for me, I can hit the start. Does the 30 seconds for me. And now everybody's microwave is a little different. So we're gonna do that 30-second 3 to 4 times. So that would be number 1. So we'll have 2 more times after this. This time is gonna be if you notice it really needs more microwaving. I know even from my microwave here at the studio versus home, definitely heats it up a little differently. So not exactly consistent rules here. So then I'm going to rotate my cup another 30 degrees. I'm sorry, 90 degrees and another. Now we'll wait. Now for the popsicle stick, this is only for if you're doing the cotton wick. These obviously stand up for themselves, the wood wicks. Want while you're always waiting for the microwave. When your wick is in there, you can put your wick through the hole and then just kind of glass. So kind of like that, obviously if it was in there, you know. So then I'm going to look, I'm just going to glance out of here. Yes, so we definitely need more. I'm going to rotate it another 90 degrees for my last 30 seconds here. And then I'll have my thermometer ready. So I'm going to pull it out of the casing here. Ooh, I'm excited. We're so close. 2, 1. Alrighty, so I'm going to pull it out. Let's see how it is cooking. I'm going to look at it first. I think it might be okay, but just I think it might need a little bit more. I can tell it's got a little bit of a cloud to it, but I'm going to go ahead and put it in. Now we want the temperature to be between 175 and 185. If it's not quite there, you need to put it in longer. Alrighty, so it looks like I'm still inching up. Ooh, we're getting really close. Okay, I'm just under 170. That's not quite hot enough though. So I'm going to go ahead and put it back in for about, let's see, 10 seconds. I think should be good. Well, I'll just keep an eye on it there. Maybe we'll just do a couple bonus seconds. Why not? Okay, so there we go. I'm going to pull it out and then I'm going to recheck that temperature. And it looks like it's going to be there. It's actually exactly, oh, nope, it did go up to 180. We're about 180, which is perfect. Okay, 185. We're actually right at the top of that temperature, but that's okay. I like to have it a little bit on the warmer side anyways, especially if I'm gonna add the dye in there, because by the time you mix it in and then you add your fragrance, obviously it's gonna cool down a little bit. If you are adding the dye, we're gonna take a little bit and just add in a little bit. I like to break it up in little pieces. This is gonna help dissolve the dye. Now, if you want, you can add a little bit at a time if you like it a lighter color. Or if you're just knowing you want it really dark, you can put the whole thing in. I think this color is naturally a lighter color, so I'm just going to go ahead and place the whole thing, and I'll still show you how we can sample that color. So now we're going to take that stir stick, we're going to stir it in there really good, and wait for those little chips to dissolve. Just gently stir it and be careful. This can be really hot. Luckily, this double wall on this cup keeps it a little bit on the cooler side when you're holding it. Let's see, we're getting close. And definitely don't want to leave any of those chunks in there. You will see those floating in your candle if you did not mix them in all the way. Okay, so one way you can check it is if you take your spoon, and I'm just gonna dabble a little bit on my scrap paper here, and you will see it is going to be, I can't show you exactly, but it is going to be a lot darker in the cup versus it will be once it dries. Luckily, just a little bit will dry pretty quick, so usually I like to just fan it. And try not to put too much wax on the scrap paper because the more wax you put, the longer it takes. But then we can let that dry. For me, that's what I'm going to do, so you can go ahead and do that step. I'm just going to double check my temperature, making sure that it's still right in that 175 to 185. And it looks like, yep, we'll be about right 180. So we're good. Now we're going to take that fragrance once you get that dye in, and now we're going to pour that into our cup. You can take that thermometer back out. Just slowly mix that in there. And now we're going to stir it. We're going to make sure to do this for a whole count of 60. It's just important to stir it long enough so that that fragrance is really mixed in there evenly. And if you lose count, it's not a big deal. Just a good close guess. Oh, I can already smell the scent. Just gently keep stirring. And I'm looking at my colors. Yeah, this is a really light blue color, regardless of how much of that chip, but that's kind of what I was going for. I figured with ocean sands, be a nice appropriate color to have an ocean blue. Keep stirring it. Alrighty, I feel like I'm right about my time here. So once you're ready, make sure your container is nice and close. And we're gonna very carefully pour this into the container. Now, it's really important not to touch the wax too much on the wick. Just kind of let it fill up. Because when you burn it later, if there's wick at the top with wax on it, it kind of has issues with it burning. So I got mine mixed in really good. You can always hold your wick to this side, and then we're gonna pour that in. Slowly and carefully. Get every last drop. Alrighty. Then voila. Now, if you did the wood wick, you don't have anything else to do here, but I'm going to show you. If you did the regular wick, you're going to make sure to put that popsicle stick in, or thread that wick through the popsicle stick hole there. And then I sometimes hold it underneath it with my fingers. And then I'm just going to try to pull it tight and then fold the top of the wick on top of that popsicle stick. So it should be followed along just with a nice 90-degree fold. The only reason that is helpful is so that when it's setting, it's not going to go anywhere. So it's just going to help hold it in place. So you'll want to make sure doing that. Make sure you check again that your wick looks nice and straight throughout your container and that it is nice and folded over. If you're doing the wood wick, you don't have to do any of that. So then we're going to go ahead and place this wherever you want it to set. And then you're going to leave it there for 3 hours. And it's really important that you do not touch it. You do not move it. If you do that while it's setting, it's going to cause a lot of issues with appearance. It's not going to be a nice overall solid clear or solid, just not a solid candle. So make sure that you do not touch it, especially finger printing at the top. I know it's going to be really tempting. They will be imprinted in there. Not that you're not going to burn it off, but we always encourage you just to let it sit. And then you're going to want to let that set for 3 hours. You will see the color completely change, and you'll definitely be able to see that. Usually it kind of takes about 2 hours, but 3 hours is a good safe amount of time here. Then once it's set, you're going to take scissors and you're going to cut that wick about a 1/4 inch above your wax, but you want to do that after it sets. So you'll just want to trim it down and then you'll be ready to burn. Well, thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions, always feel free to contact the store on our Facebook page, or you can always call us at 563-663-4370, guys. Thank you for following along. We'll hope to see you again. Thanks.